Good evening and welcome to Off United WFC with me, Matt Crane. Should be joined by Benny tonight, but like England in a major tournament, he's not turned up. So we've got Anthony until Ben arrives. So Anthony, I'll ask you how you doing whilst we've no Benny?
Yeah, I'm all right. Slowly getting over the other night. Winning a bit of money, softened it slightly, but I quite happily would have rather the trophy lift than the money. But it's what it is, isn't it?
I know. To be fair, it's one of them. I don't know. I'm still deflated now. It was a bad day Monday. Going into work. It just couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, I didn't work Monday, luckily.
Not bad for some, eh? Good evening, John Fry, and good evening, Karen, as well. Like I say, hopefully when Benny does decide that he's going to make an appearance, we can get him on the show. But yeah, a few topics tonight. Then obviously we did tweet out that we'd sort of start, with Siobhan Chamberlain, and could potentially she come in as a director of football. It's something that's been talked about, over the past couple of weeks, I suppose, by numerous people, and something I mentioned back when Siobhan was going to retire. And I know me and Benny, I don't know if you saw Saturday's show, Anthony, we briefly sort of covered it, only very lightly, and also sort of a restructure. So we'll start with that. We'll go on to a little bit of Team GB as well, the Women's Euros, and we will finish off as well with the LJ news, which I don't think anybody's surprised at now. It's dragged on long enough. That looks like it's pretty much close to completion. So yeah, lots to get through. Anthony, then I'll sort of talk about Chamberlain first, then we'll start with that. So obviously, like I say, past couple of weeks now, people have sort of been, saying, off the field's a mess. Where's the structure? Why is this happening? Why is that happening? And it got people talking and people thinking. So I think for me, I'd said back when Siobhan was expecting a baby, I said I'd be surprised if she would come back. She didn't. And then obviously she retired. And at the time, my thoughts were she'd make an excellent coach, whether that would be a goalkeeping coach or first team coach or even a mentor to sort of, the team or the younger players. Because let's not forget the Devs don't actually have a specific goalkeeping coach. Sort of Ian Wilcock doubles up. And obviously she didn't want to coach. Now she's taken on this Masters. It's like a sporting directorship. And it's sort of to do with like football finance, leadership. You can become sort of an agent from it if you want to. So there's lots of different routes really, but it does give her a really good football insight. And I think as well, because it's a Masters as well, it's a high level. So I want to get your thoughts first, Anthony, then. Obviously, with the club being in such a mess on and off the pitch, obviously I say on the pitch because we're losing players and, we're still waiting for the incomings confirmed. But do you see this as something that could potentially work or something you'd like to personally see if Siobhan was up for it?
Yeah, it would be good, I think. In our short time as a club, we've steadily progressed and we're sort of halted now. With Casey going and that, obviously gone and that, it would be good to have someone who does have background knowledge of what's expected of United in that way. So if she did get a Masters, then it would be, I think it would be a good thing. Something definitely needs to happen in sorts of structure of the club. Like I thought we had all them outgoings and I thought, here we are. We'll have these outgoings now for a week or two, and then they'll announce the manager and then announce the incoming players, and it's just not happened, does it?
No.
I just don't know what's going on. I know we've previously discussed that we believe that John Murtagh is running things. Is he running things with Martin Ho coaching?
So yes, well, I say running. John's supposed to be running the women's side, but I think we'll get onto that shortly and get your thoughts on that. But he's more obviously involved with the men now. Martin will be taking pre-season. I believe that's next week for fitness tests, and then alongside Ian Wilcock, there is a new medical team in place. So not sure who, but there's new medical staff, physios, things like that, nutritionists. So, I mean, listen, that's a little start, but it's still not good enough for me.
No, I agree.
But like you say, I think, for me, you talked about, and it's spot on here from John Fry, Siobhan knows not only the women's game, but she knows the club, she knows the players, inside out. Yeah. I think, that for me makes a big difference. We could go and get anybody, anybody that's a sporting director or a director of football or a mentor. You could go and get anybody. But I think to do that would be not necessarily a disservice to those already there, but it make things harder because, like I say, at least with Siobhan, she's been there. She knows the ethos of the club. She knows, some of the players because obviously there's still some there from her time, and a few of the staff as well. So for me, I think that could be a really sort of smart move should the club wish to draw on her experience. I'm going to move on to sort of John Murtagh then, because we're talking about him, and obviously, he did get that role with the men's side. And he is supposed to be jointly running the women's side with the head of finance, Steve DeVille. Do you think then, with John going to the men's side, and I look at it that he's got Sancho done. Okay, it's dragged out, but he's got it done. They're looking at Varane, but yet on the women's side, nothing. You mentioned about outgoings and incomings, which again we'll get onto shortly. But where do you think that leaves us? Because to me, it seems like we've kind of been left like. Not that he doesn't care. I don't want to put those words out there as such, but it seems that maybe he's taken a little bit of a step back because of his main role with the women, which again, for me, is another reason why we need to have a look at our own sort of staff.
Yeah, good point. No, definitely. He's obviously got the job with the men. He's been busy trying to get the men sorted out, and he would have seen how unhappy the fans as a whole were from all them protests and that. So his main concern was, we've got to have a good transfer window for the men's here. They're not going to, I'm not saying the women's fans and me or you or any of them think it's acceptable, but a few thousand or how many other thousand follow the women compared to the millions around the world, you're going to get more stick for the men. So he's obviously trying to have everyone off their back. And the thing is, though, he still has to, like John says, he still has to answer to the Glazers with the men's and women's regardless. But like you said, I know the Sancho thing did take a couple of years, but they finally got there. If we get Varane, I think another couple of players, I've seen that, I don't know his name, is it Rennes midfielder? Can we've been linked with?
Yeah, Cavamiga, is it? Is that how you pronounce it?
And I know we got Cavani in that. If I think if we can get another striker, maybe a bit younger, or even if Martial can get fit and start scoring like he did a couple of years back, then I really do generally think the men do have a good chance of challenging for the title next year. With the women, like we've discussed on previous shows, it's all a bit up in the air, isn't it? It's very much like the manager was meant to be announced, and it's not happened. Didn't Mannion announce herself as a United player and then take something down?
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah.
You mentioned doing all the new signing photos, and should she do it in a bucket hat? And also, I think what people haven't picked up on is actually Martha Thomas is actually in clubhouses. She posted a picture in there the other day in the garden and in the kitchen.
The United clubhouse.
Yeah, so obviously the club have their own houses, don't they? They own a few houses. So yeah, she's already in there. So she moved in. That was posted up last week. I don't know if that's been taken down as well, because you know what the club get like. But it's just, I think it's frustrating because this deal's done, and obviously we know this deal's done, and there's 4 done, but they've not announced them. But I think, like you said, obviously there has been pressure on John Murtagh to get the men's done. which for me is fine, but then don't detract from the women. And like you say, I think, all the protests and things, and there's thousands of other, hundreds of thousands of other sort of men's fans. It's a bigger scale to the women, so it's difficult. But again, surely if you know and you can't fully commit to something, you don't take the project on in the first place. For me, and like you say, it's a shame, but that's where we're at. And I think for me, changes need to be made. I don't know how you feel, but I think a director of football is only part of the parcel. I think for me, a director of football, obviously we're still waiting on a manager. I think we just need a whole lot. We need a general manager and we need sort of a head of finance. John Hume says, top stalking if you recognise the houses. I mean, to be fair, it's on my way to work. It's like a 10-minute drive from my house. So yeah, I can't really avoid that one when you see them sort of leaving on the way to training and they're flying past you the other way. But no, yeah, I do. I have seen that. So I'll clear that up just before that comes across weird. But yeah, I think, like I say, for me, a director of football for the women, a women's head of finance, and what was the one I mentioned now? Oh, a general manager. Because I think what we were saying on the Saturday show was that basically the head of finance is Steve DeVille, is covering both clubs. But because there's no general manager, we were saying there's nobody to put pressure on, to ask those questions of finance. And obviously Casey went to Ed Woodward, who is, due to resign or whenever he finishes, I don't know. So I think for me, would sort of that be something that you'd maybe say as well? Would you like to see more than just a director? Would you agree maybe finance and a general manager? Because let's not forget the general manager is the day-to-day running of the club. Sorts out, the deals, the contracts, will liaise with the manager for signings and things like that and budgets. Where do you sort of stand on that then?
Yeah, I think it would be a good thing. We talk about it being one team, the men and women, but in the finance section, I bet they're separate. So if they're separate, you want to have someone who can run the financial side of it. Why the coach is training the players and all that, and getting them ready for games and that, and getting them fit. I know certain players used to do, certain managers used to do a lot on their own. Fergie, for example, used to do quite a lot on his own, but there's only a certain amount you can do on your own. Many, like the saying, many hands make light work. So I definitely think there needs to be a section where you have the running of the football club side, and then you have the taking care of the players and that side. Because I hope I'm wrong, but as you can see on Twitter a lot, there's a lot of people that are starting to get a bit aggy now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like I can see some points, but then other points, I think people are going a bit over the top. You also got to remember the season doesn't start to September. I think the problem is people are thinking, oh, well, we did all our selling last season and we had already announced two or three players by this time last year.
Yeah.
So I don't know if LJ's the last one to leave. Like, I don't know if there's anyone else rumoured to leave, but hopefully if it's just LJ, then that's it. All the outgoings are gone. And hopefully they'll announce the manager, and then it will just continue being good news, like welcome to Man United, like a week of it. And then I'm sure you'll have people that are happy that we're getting players in, but then not everyone's going to be happy with who we get. Let's be realistic. it was great. It was great having Tobin and Kristen last year, and everyone was going, "Oh, if it happens, it's brilliant." And it was brilliant to have them around for a year. But that's the downside of this season now. I think people thinking, "Oh, will they come?" Who says, "Oh, we can't get these players or something?" With Twitter, we find out these rumours and they get stronger and stronger normally, and we haven't really had any of that. We sort of know the players that we're meant to be getting and are lined up. But other than that, yeah, it's like you said with your question. Yeah, no, I agree. They think there should be a separate sides to it. You have the running financial side of the club, and then you have your coaching staff and that taking care of the players and all that. But I think the club do need to. I think, like John Ball says, it's the lack of communication, isn't it? That doesn't help. I just hope we don't go the Liverpool way. I know we've only been a club for 2-3 years, but I just hope they're not thinking, all the big clubs have had a team. Token gesture kind of thing, because if we won't accept it. This is the thing, though. We won't. I don't think we wouldn't lie down as well. You know us. We'd probably do it wouldn't be like an Old Trafford protest, but there would probably be a friendly protest if it severely went bad. But we just got to keep a bit of faith, and hopefully things will be a bit more clear in the not too distant future.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, like you say, because obviously, we can do it and we should be doing it, but we're not doing it. And I think this is why, like you said, you talked about sort of the Twitter concern or meltdowns. And I think, it's only right because you said before, we had signings this time last year. And I massively believe that, if we were sorted off the field and we had our own structure, things would have moved a lot quicker. I think the trouble we've got is we've got no manager. We've got players wanting to leave. We've got players coming in that we've not announced. And nobody's got a general idea of what's going on. You've got them for me, it seems like they're trying to complete men's deals first and then move on to the women, which by the time we get there is going to be far too late. I mean, like I say, pre-season, looking at next week and nothing in place is very worrying. You're asking a coach to take over pre-season. It's not how it should be at Man United. I think Jonathan says here, lack of direction, communication, last season's problems, things like that. People are saying about, struggling for top 6. And I think you only have to look at other clubs, if you highlight Everton that are splashing the cash and potentially, could easily finish above us now, depending. I think this is the worry. And I think, fans are sort of slowly losing patience now because the communication has always been dire. But I think at the minute it's just tone deaf. There's absolutely nothing there whatsoever. I'm going to sort of go into the outgoings because you mentioned about them being done, which for me is interesting because I've got it on good authority.
I didn't say, are they done? I said, LJ, are they potentially done or is there still... Because obviously it was rumoured between 8 to 10.
Well, we'll get on to this now.
Okay.
Yeah, so what I was going to say, my question was going to be, was that there are definitely 4 out of contract that expired on the 30th of June, nearly 2 weeks ago. Now, what I'm thinking, and I want to know your thoughts on this, is have they automatically been renewed and it's not been communicated? And the reason why I say that is because I think we're thin on the ground squad-wise. We've had now 5 outgoings and LJ will complete that for 6. And then we've got another 4 out of contract, so that's 9. I wonder, with only 4, /5, when we get the Chelsea player coming in as part of the LJ deal, which we'll get onto later, I wonder, have the club maybe extended those contracts and not said anything or not communicated it yet? Because it does seem very strange to announce so many in a week and then it'd be quiet completely, and we hear absolutely nothing, and everyone's like, well, hang on a sec, this player, that player, this player, and the other one are all out of contract, and we know one of them's got to move to another club, but the other three, nobody's a clue what's going on. And it's like, so I want to know what your thoughts on that are. Do you think we might be onto something there, or do you think maybe just slow up communication and it's just poor and it's going to happen soon?
You don't know with the club. I'm going to go for they're just being slow.
Yeah.
I don't know who the four are.
Well, John Fry asked that. Do you want me to quickly drop your names?
Yes, please.
So, hang on. What's Paul saying here? Zellum, Harris, Smith, and Bentley is the fourth one. So those three.
So Stillen's out of contract.
Bentley. Say again.
Selim's out of contract.
Supposedly out of contract, yeah, that's what I've been told, and that had come from a player's family. So those three plus Bentley, and then obviously Abby McManus has gone to Leicester, and that's not yet been announced by either club. Her contract was up as well, so potentially, you're looking at those four plus a fifth, and we've heard nothing. So yeah, sorry, continue. That's your four anyway.
Okay, well, I know Zelim's our captain. I think I've not heard anything before. I know she's a bit hot and cold with certain fans.
Yeah,
but at the stage we are at the moment, I can't see us allowing Zelim to leave. I could be wrong. We could be getting a couple of midfielders that play in her position. I know we're linked very strongly with that Norwegian Fierce Boa, or however you pronounce her name. So other than that, if we've got replacements for her, then I can't see Zelim going. But Bentley's just it's slow day with Man United. I fully expect Bentley to go, and then and then Martha and Smith. See, would keep Smith. I think, yeah, Martha's been good to have round, but I think she was unlucky with injuries and that, but I think with Una being so good and hopefully Maria, she's had 6 months at the club now. Hopefully she'll be a bit more fitting in. And then I can see, obviously Amy's gone, so I could see Martha's playing time potentially going down more. So I think two of them, I wouldn't be surprised if two of them have gone. But if all four went, I would be surprised, especially Zelim. Obviously, people see stuff on Twitter, and I'm quite out of the loop quite a lot of the time. I'm like, people come up with stuff, and I'm like, oh, do people actually have jobs, or are they just on Twitter all day? I'm like, how? It's like, oh, I blink for an hour and I've missed like loads of stuff.
Yeah,
but I only saw the LJ thing because it come up on Sky Sports News. So, but no, regarding the free agents, like you said, two of them I fully expect to go. But who knows? The club, we know this, don't we? We know you've seen it last year, don't you? When West Ham announced Ramsey on the bench, but the club hasn't said anything
until the day after.
Yeah, just an example, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that was poor. I agree. Yeah. It just got me thinking, though, because like I say, obviously, it does seem a little bit strange that to me, obviously, we knew they were going one by one in terms of announcements going out. Not a problem with that. I mean, listen, some people say all at once, some prefer one by one. I mean, for me, I'm not fussy. You know, it is, you know, they're going at the end of the day. So whether they're announced, but I think it's just strange how they've dropped like a chunk or half, and then they seem to have waited to then drop another half. And I can't understand what the reasoning could be, other than they've either extended on the quiet, or potentially the other option is they could be waiting for the new manager to say, well, actually, you know, we've got Martha, Katie, who are sort of, you know, first team and considered key players. And then we've got obviously Fran, who's like third choice keeper. And maybe they're waiting for the new manager to say, you know, do you want to offer him a new deal? Or same with Smith, to be fair, because I think Smith's probably played more than Martha. Obviously, they're both been lots of users, but it for me, it must be one of the two. It must be that somebody is waiting for them to, you know, appoint the manager to say, no, I don't want him, or yes, let's offer him a new deal. Or, but then again, this is bizarre because these were supposedly, and we were told, myself and Natalie were told, these were Casey's outgoings and Casey's signings. So the 4 ins and all the outgoings. So again, there's things that don't add up, and it's, you know, it's, I think for me, it's ridiculous that fans are sat on here and they're second guessing. You know, like I say, we get told some information, and then all of a sudden now it seems to change. It used to be like, you know, this happens, this is going to drop then, and we got a good idea. And now it's that bad communication. People that we talk to inside the club don't even have a clue what's going on. So I think that in itself is worrying, and that sort of tells you that, you know, if people inside the club don't know what's going on, how the hell do we stand a chance? You know, we're talking mid-July. And if you look at the club's Twitter, you know, it said, I think it said something like on this time last year, owner had signed. And I think this time 2 years ago, Mary had signed. And it's like, you know, it's definitely bizarre. But I want to come to Karen's comment here. Is Bo Risa not done yet? I believe it is done. But again, you know, she's one of the 4. So I think we've got Aoife Mannion, Bo Risa, Sophie Bagley, and Martha Thomas as the 4 done, just unannounced. And then we are waiting, and we'll get onto that in a little while, about this player that Chelsea are sending us for the LJ deal. But again, you know, this comment here about, you know, what Dave mentions, you know, obviously, you know, some news just to give us something excited, you know, to get excited about. You know, people have renewed season tickets, and I've not spoken to one person that's like absolutely buzzing for the season to start. You know, everyone's more focused on the Wooded side, and it's like, you know, oh, what's happening? Is this happening? Is that happening? Where's this going? Where's that going? So it's a bit like you say. Are you sort of, obviously you'll be concerned, but sort of, you know, in terms of excitement, how are you feeling in terms of, like I say, you know, the season starting or the transfer window? Because it's not been great, let's be honest.
Yeah. Before obviously Casey resigned and that, and this sort of saga happened, I was really excited. It's been so long since we've been able to support them.
Yeah.
And I know things will happen eventually, and that, and I know the opening game of the season, my buzz will be there. I'll be like, oh yes, we're going back to league. Come on, bring on United and all that. And I know I'll be buzzing for it. And but yeah, since Casey left and that, it did bring it down a bit. And the way the club are with not announcing stuff, and you'd think 2 months in, you would have a manager in by now.
Yeah.
Even the Tottenham men's side got a manager in. They got rejected by about 9,000 managers. So I know it doesn't start for an extra month, but what's a month these days? You blink and it's the next month these days.
That's it.
So this is another thing, what Paul's comment. If we let 2 more defenders, that leave us very light in defence.
Yeah.
We saw last season it was more the attack. We got unlucky with injuries and that, but I know we haven't got Champions League football, but we need to get a squad that I know it's hard when you don't have so many games, but you need to have a squad where if one player is injured, you know that the other player can do just as much damage to the opposition.
Yeah.
And I think in certain areas, it shows we lack that. When Leah and Tobin got injured, like we've discussed before, it sort of went wrong. But I'm just hoping that we get the manager in, the outgoings finish, we get the players in. I'd like to be discussing with you in a couple of weeks that the last of the outgoings, a couple of the new people have been announced, the manager's been announced. But nothing surprises you, do it? It wouldn't surprise me if we were here in 3 weeks' time going, where's the manager?
Yeah, I mean, they told us, didn't they? I think John Murta released a statement Friday in response to the Athletic, and he said, we're down to 2 candidates. And, they reckon that it should be done over the weekend. But here we are Tuesday with still nothing. So it's like...
We'll let them off. He's probably still drunk from the other night.
They don't let him off. They get enough thing is enough chances. Yeah. But no, I think it's just one of them. Like, the thing is, we've not even had the fixtures. That's another thing. I don't know. I'm sure we had the fixtures this time last year. Definitely in 1920 we did, because we knew we were going to Man City. Yeah. First game in the WSL. But again, I think that's not the fault of United as such. That's the league in general. But it's like, all this time and sticking on. But yeah, I do question a lot of things that are currently going on. I'm going to sort of move on then. So we're going to, before we get on to LG and the big news, we'll sort of go on to Team GB and a little bit of the Euros. So obviously Team GB, it was announced today. They've got a behind closed doors friendly tomorrow. They're playing New Zealand. Obviously couldn't get the game at Stoke going ahead due to all the COVID restrictions that cancelled the friendly, but they've managed to put one together last minute. Do you think, chucking one together last minute is wise, or are you against it, for it, or where do you stand on that then?
No, I think it's wise. You're still doing your training. They must have had an idea with the travel restrictions and that there was a possibility that the Zambia game wouldn't be played. So it in a way, it will be a better test for them. New Zealand, they're not the best team, but we watched, I think you were there as well, we watched the Lionesses against New Zealand at the Amex before the previous World Cup. And I can't remember, did New Zealand win that game or was it a draw?
They did indeed. But, no, they won. They beat us.
No, they won. Yeah. So they're going to be a tough team to beat, but it'll be experience. It's match fitness experience. The girls wouldn't have played for a month and a half, 2 months now. Yeah. So that match condition will be vital before the competitive stuff starts. You sort of want to have some minutes in your legs. You don't want to go in cold into a tournament. I feel you could do risk with injury, or in competitive matches you push yourself more. So if you're in cold, then all sorts could happen. But it gives a chance for the manager to do a couple of things as well. Maybe certain tactics, certain players, gives players the chance to prove that they should be starting in that game. I know the training's a lot to do with it, but you've also got to perform in matches, and I think that's the best way of showing the manager if you're doing well, banging in goals or making great tackles and stuff, then you deserve your place. So no, I definitely think it was a wise move.
Yeah. No, I think you're spot on. I think, as well, you talk well there, really well about sort of the reasons why. And I think another thing to add to that as well, at the minute it's quite hot out in Tokyo. So I think the playing conditions, the pitch, is it heavy? Is it not? The heat, everything there you talked about. And I think it's good as well for those that are, the Welsh players in the team, because I think, playing for Lionesses altogether is one thing, but adding others in and potentially a different style of play, again, you've got to obviously get that right. So it's pleasing. It's a little bit last minute, but listen, they've put something together. And I think, like you say, it's great for team selection because you can have a look at that and think, well, actually, you know what? This player's been okay in training. Let's see how we do in the match. Right, actually, you know what? We're going to change it. That person is now starting. I think it will help the players, and it just gives them a little bit of, like you say, go into the tournament with a little bit less pressure. Having, had that start and that sort of friendly and just to get the sharpness up more than anything. I think, like you say, training's great, but training versus match fitness and, game scenario is completely different. You can't replicate the, the sort of the game scenario in training. I mean, you can have, 11 versus 11, but it's not quite the same as a competitive game. So I think, great to see that. At least they got something sorted. I think the only slight disappointment for me is it's not broadcast. I think, you look tomorrow and New Zealand are playing Japan, and that game is free on YouTube. I think it's 11:30 that's on. So I think for me,
hang on. Who did you say we have?
No, I was saying there's the friendly we play New Zealand, but the Aussies are playing Japan in a friendly.
It's broadcast. You confused me because you said New Zealand were playing Japan. So that's
sorry. The Aussies, getting mixed up now, getting that part of the country mixed up. I'll start again. The Aussies, Australia, are playing Japan in a friendly. We play New Zealand, sorry, just to clarify. But yeah, I think it's one of them, like, we've got our friendly, but now we're not showing it. And it's like, okay, it's the middle of the week, there might not be people around, but there might still be people that want to watch it. And I think it's a little bit poor when we're looking to promote the women's game that we can show, Australia versus Japan in the morning, free on YouTube, worldwide, but yet we can't show an England game. Now, obviously, there might be broadcasting rights, but surely, you'd go and find that out. If you couldn't put it on YouTube, you could stream it on Twitter. Have you got any thoughts on that, or are you not entirely fussed? You're just sort of happy for the friendly?
It's a hard one, isn't it? It's middle of the day, so it's hard to get the TV audience, possibly. It's a bit before the summer holidays. Maybe if it was when the kids had broken up, it might have been a good thing. But the sort of people that you've probably got at home at that time of the day are people that want to watch Bargain Hunt.
I suppose, yeah.
I'm not overly fussed that it's not being shown. It would be good, of course, the coverage and that, but as long as the main stuff's shown, the games at the Olympics, that's the key one. If they weren't live, then you would worry. But for the sake of a friendly, I'm not going to cry myself to sleep over it or write a Twitter essay like, oh, this is outrageous. Australia can do it, so why can't we?
No, that's a fair point. Yeah, I think it was just interesting. The only reason I was asking was because obviously you talked about sort of people that are around want to watch Bargain Hunt, and that's probably retired people. But for me, I was thinking, get a bit of promo out for those that are at home or not in work or working from home. It would be a good opportunity because let's not forget, some people, obviously, we've been a little bit, well, I say a little bit, sort of people sitting on the fence in the men's Euros. Some people are proud and some felt let down. So I think, what a great chance to showcase the women's football and also mention, next summer's Euros as well, which I'm going to get into very shortly. But I think for me, it's one of them like you. I'm not going to sit and cry about it because, listen, I'm in work myself, but it would have been nice maybe to try and grab a different target audience. Quickly, we're going to go into Euros then before sort of closing the show on LJ. Tickets are on sale today. I don't know how many you purchased, but I went for Old Trafford in the final. I gambled on the final, not expecting England to get there, but I thought, you know what, it's the final and it's not even a lot of money. So I'm going to, make a weekend of it down in London. I think it's on a Sunday. So, and then obviously Old Trafford. And then I think after that, the draw is November. So we're looking at a long time before we know what we're going to get in terms of any other games. So I think I'll pick a couple at Lee and a couple probably at Man City. Have you purchased any yourself?
Yeah, I've purchased the opening game at Old Trafford.
Oh, good stuff.
And then I've quite lucky they're down south the second and third game. You've got Southampton, St Mary's, and then you've got Brighton at the Amex, which is 20 minutes down the road for me. So I'm lucky with that. Obviously, I've booked a semi-final ticket for the MK Dons one. I won't do the first one because that's at Rotherham or something. And then obviously I've purchased the final. Now, I probably will get a ticket for the quarterfinal somewhere, but I very much want to see who England draw, because if they finish first, I can't remember where they play. I think they play up north, but if they finish second, I think they play at like Brentford or something. So don't get me wrong, I would travel up to Rotherham. I did actually want to look into doing every single game, but the way they do it, you can't, because
I know
you have your group games at 8 p.m. on at the same time. So
no, I think that's it. I think for you want them obviously down south, but for me, because there's so many Lionesses games down south, I'm like, let's get them up north. I think it's Sheffield, the semis, because I've got a semis. I think Sheffield, and it's one's at Sheffield for the semis, and the other one's obviously down your way. Yeah, and I think I'm probably gonna get the quarterfinals at Lee. I'm not expecting that to be England, but it's like 20 minutes down the road from me.
I probably will end up getting a couple of more when they go, because they say they go on ballot, but is the women's game at that stage around the world where it will be oversubscribed? Because then they say in February it goes to general sale.
Yeah, so I think obviously it's pre-sale now. The code anyway is plastered over Twitter. So in terms of that, I mean, to be fair, it depends on the ground. It depends on the team, because if you look at Old Trafford, Lionesses could likely, I would expect that to be sold out. Assuming it's all COVID, all this rubbish has completely, pretty much died down, and we're back to hopefully, some sort of full attendances and all that jazz, which we should be this summer, to be fair, or at least the start of the season. I think Old Trafford should be full. It's whether you can sell out your smaller grounds. So maybe there might need to be a ballot. Let's say if you get like a Spain or a Sweden or a big team, maybe a France, that are going to end up at Lee and it's 12,000, and obviously their fans will want to come over as well. Yeah. Then there is the potential. But I think in terms of at the minute, I think they've just pretty much said pre-sale. And I think they'll probably see how it goes in general. But I know it's early, but where would you rate our chances, or don't you? I know it's a tough one. It's far too early, but we'll chuck it out there.
It is a tough one, isn't it? Because since the World Cup, we've seemed to have gone backwards.
You can say it.
But it can be very much, we've discussed it before, the draw.
Yeah.
If we get a nice draw and then we're on I know there's not so many games in the Women's Euro, like it's 3 group games, quarterfinals, semi-finals, bang, done. Thank you, over. But
John says no chance.
Yeah, I know.
Either.
It all depends on what we'll have the new manager by then. The old Dutch manager. So as long as she's picking people on merit and not because it's their names, you can never say never. I'll be honest with you. Before the men's Euro started, we were second favourites, but I couldn't believe it.
No, I was shocked. Made a final.
How are we second favourites? We got there. We had Germany, but no disrespect to Ukraine and Denmark. We should be beating them. I know Denmark.
They gave us a better game than Germany for me.
No, I enjoyed the Germany game more.
Oh, I enjoyed that more because it was Germany,
Yeah.
but I think Denmark looked for me and felt a better team than Germany.
Yeah.
I think Germany, but yeah.
So you can never say never, but I'm going to go. We'll come back to it, won't we? At the end of
we'll come back to it.
We'll come back to it at the end of the WSL, and we'll be like,
we will.
"Oh,
no, absolutely."
You know what we could? We could go on we could go unbeaten all season in our friendlies or that, and we could be playing some really good football in that. And it only takes a few like that, and people get excited.
Yeah,
but currently at the moment. Quarterfinals, semi-finals.
Yeah,
I expect. I don't know how they do the seeding with the groups.
I'm assuming it's going off the world rankings.
I'd imagine as hosts we'll be top seed in the top seed, will we? And then
I'm not sure. Not a clue. I know we automatically qualify as hosts, but in terms of seedings, I'm not sure if that goes off ranking or ranking and host. I genuinely don't know. I need to read up on that, but. Yeah, I think, like you say, the draw and the seedings will play a big part in it. I think as well, the other thing, people are saying, and I fully agree about, pick new up-and-coming players and players that deserve it. But the other thing we need to think about is, could we maybe be forced into a squad because of the season not necessarily being extended, but obviously we've got the FA Cup games to catch up on. And, I'm just thinking more games this season, we don't want players breaking down and getting injured. So I suppose as well, whereas your likes of, let's say, Jill Scott, for example, barely play. So she should technically be fully fit. Not that I expect to see her there next year, but, it's one of them. But yeah, we shall see. Like you say, we're going to obviously touch on that towards the end of the season next summer. But ending the show then. So it broke about a couple of hours ago, maybe 3 hours ago, about the LJ deal to Chelsea. Now, obviously, we knew that it was, it was there and she wanted out. It was out there, or I'd heard in January that she'd asked to leave the club. And this was, like I say, before even rumours of Casey going. Because she said she felt homesick and she wanted to be closer to her family, which I suppose is fair enough. So the Athletic reported, well, first of all, they reported an incorrect fee. They said 200,000 rising to 300,000 plus a player. So we were like, brilliant, great. Loving that. Fantastic deal. Let's go. About an hour later, it suddenly dropped massively and it went to 50,000 plus a player with add-ons. Medical was done today. Personal terms close to being finalised, but not expected to be an issue. So more or less looks like that's done. What are your thoughts on the fee and any thoughts on the potential player that coming in or somebody you'd like?
Yeah, the fee. It's difficult, the one in the women's game, isn't it? Because I know she's young and up and coming, so you would be hoping for a bit more, I think. But like you said, it can rise. I think it can rise up to about 150,000, can it? Is that correct?
So they said with the add-ons, but it's one of them, like, they say 50,000 up front, and then obviously it'd be similar to Greenwood. Greenwood was 40,000 up front, and then we got money for when she won
Champions League
trophies and played in the Champions League. Yeah, it was like appearance and trophy based. So Chelsea would probably be similar, I'd assume.
Fair enough. So when you look at that, she had 1 year in her contract, and you don't want to lose her for free. But then it's not just that, is it? If homesick and that, which in the last year it's been difficult, isn't it, with all the COVID restrictions and that, which you have to think played a part in all that. Which she's only 19, and it's understandable. I'm not sure how much help they would have got through the club during COVID and that. Like, I know they have people there to talk to, so I'm sure. But like you said, we knew it was coming. It was just a matter of when, United there was an acceptable offer in terms of it being the right decision for her. Yeah, it will be for her personally. I'm moving closer to family. She's got a brother there. She's got a lot of football still to play, but it's big squad at Chelsea, big players to out. It's like, I think Emma Hayes, she's a good manager. She'll give her a fair chance. But whereas with United, we don't have as much power. So if she is fit, she probably would have played a lot more this season. But injuries paid to that. So, yeah, regarding the player, well,
a lot of love in the comments for
someone put
England.
Carter. No, that would be a bad deal. I agree.
Yeah, no, I agree on that as well. Yeah, completely with what Amy says on that.
It depends. I quite like Beth England. All the ones that Karen said.
Yeah, I think everyone's totally in agreement with there.
Yeah,
a lot of love for Beth England. Erin Cuthbert as well. That's not a bad shout from Paul.
I think G would be. I know G's 11 years older than Lauren James, but she's been at Chelsea for a long time. She's experienced, and I think that's the sort of player we could do within the midfield.
Yeah,
someone,
absolutely.
and she would. It would almost be like she can pass her experience on to some of the younger players, a bit like Tobin did this year. So, but then Beth England, we know she can score, and we know we've struggled at times to score. Hopefully, Russo will stay fit this season, and then. Wrighton, is she more defensive minded or?
No, I think
no.
I wouldn't say no. I mean, listen, she can play. Wrighton's usually out wide, but she can play centrally as well. So I think versatility that's perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, I wouldn't be unhappy. I'd take Wrighton all day long if on offer. Same for G, Cuthbert, Beth England.
I think
Fleming's not a bad shout.
I think it's more likely to be England or G, though.
Hopefully. I'm just trying to think of players that don't necessarily play. That's all. I mean, Fleming's a fantastic shout. Very, very good player. I followed her career briefly when she was sort of, pre-Chelsea, when she was quite young. I mean, listen, she's still young now. But, again, very good player. But I think it's interesting because you talk about the injuries that Lauren's had. I think Tooney this year has more than stepped up to the plate and been incredible. But it's disappointing the fact that we've gone from 200,000/300,000 and a player to 50,000. I think for somebody of that talent, and listen, I'm a massive fan of Lauren. Really, really, enjoy watching her play. And I think disappointing she's leaving, and maybe the way that she has sort of expressed interest to leave. I mean, listen, no questions about homesick. That's not the issue. It's more the pushing of it and the. I want out and all this Chelsea sort of stuff on social media is a little bit, people went from Ollie Green over that with Liverpool, a little bit, maybe a tad disrespectful, but listen, that's my personal thoughts, but you don't want to keep an unhappy player. So I think, 50 grand, whilst not a lot for a player of her talent and her age it's going to have to do, isn't it? With add-ons and, listen, hopefully it's add-ons for trophies because I don't think she's not going to be playing weekly. I'd be very surprised if she did. I think she'd be rotated, which is fair enough.
I think she's going to have to work harder as well.
Oh, she is, absolutely, not just on fitness. But
there was times where you think to yourself, like, you're brilliant on the ball in that and taking it past players, but like you said, fitness-wise, tires too easy. So she definitely needs to work on that, and I think her work rate needs to get a bit better. But if she can get her attitude right and her fitness up there and that, then yeah, she could be the player that we expect her to be. But it's not guaranteed. We could be here 5 years' time down the line, and her career's gone not case down the Swanee, but
No, but not quite how.
She's playing for someone like Everton or Spurs.
Yeah,
because it hasn't quite gone to plan.
Yeah, I think that's down to her. I think, listen, I've worked in football and I've worked with sort of young professionals, and I think we've always said your attitude is more important than your talent. Your attitude takes you further for me. You know, like your talent is great and you're always going to have your talent and you can work on your talent. But, you know, if you got a bad attitude, most people don't change their attitude. It's very, very rare in football because they tend to have sort of the ego and I'm a footballer and all this. So I think for me, attitude's massive. You know, a couple of people agree in the comments. I'm going to quickly take this question. So EMW, why do you think we're going to get any of their players? It was, I mean, listen, this isn't me talking, but it was reported by The Athletic. So what happened was The Athletic had said possibility of a player and 200,000 rising to 300. They then changed that. So about an hour or two ago, they backtracked and they said, oh, we've actually got this wrong. And their sources that were linked with sort of Chelsea had said 50,000 and a guaranteed player. So that's where we're thinking about that coming from. Like I say, you know, that's The Athletic. Whether it's true, I don't know. But this is now the new info that it is definitely a player and less money, which, I mean, for me, like people have said, and like you said, Ante, it's got to be a top player. I don't want to be taking somebody that just, you know, like fourth choice keeper or third choice keeper or Carter or anyone. No disrespect to any of them, but, you know, if you're taking our best player, at least give us something half decent. So
another thing is, though, we talk about it. Yeah, we could get a player from Chelsea, but they're going to want to know what's happening, the direction of the club as well, aren't they? They're going to want to know who the manager is. Do we actually have a manager, but they're in hiding?
Who knows? No, absolutely. I think Karen asks how much shade does a swap player get in a move? It depends on two things. Firstly, the player. So obviously, I mean, like I say, we can all chuck names. We've got no idea, but I think if it's somebody that doesn't play much, that maybe would look for a move, bearing in mind the Euros as well, we've got to factor that in, is next year, then I think they will probably agree to it. They do get quite a big say. They're not just going to be turfed out under contract. But I think that would be a conversation that obviously Emma Hayes would have with a player or players. So, yeah, they obviously get that. And the other option is if the United have asked for a certain player, obviously that's down to Chelsea first and then the player second. So it kind of varies. Obviously, like I say, it's easier when they're out of favour and they want to go because it makes things a lot easier, as you can imagine. But obviously, if it's one where they say, right, we'll give you 50 grand, who do you want? And we go and we say, oh, we want Beth England. And Chelsea go, well, no, actually, we're strengthening a rival. Then it won't happen. So, yeah. But again, this is another good point that Amy says as well. It's all well and good, Chelsea and Emma Hayes and player saying one thing, but a player would also have to agree to a contract. So a player might say, yeah, I want to go to United. Come to United. And we might say, well, actually, this is your wage. And player may turn around and be like, no, I want more. Which, again, will we dig into our pockets knowing United? Who knows? But we've just got 50 grand, or we will have 50 grand for a player. So for me, that should be reinvested, and we should be, willing to commit. But it's one of them. But I think, yeah, just to summarise before we finish, I think, a little bit gutted, but at the end of the day, you get your money, you get your player, and you just got to move on for me. You got any final thoughts, Anthony, or anything else you want to add before we wrap it?
Like you said, no one player is bigger than the club.
Yeah.
We've lost players before in the men's side, and they come and go. Yeah. When Beckham went, people were like, oh, great. And then we ended up getting the best, I'm going to say, as a United fan, the best player in the world. I know a lot of people will go, no, it's Messi.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I've just always, idolised Ronaldo and backed him.
Going back to certain players for Chelsea as well quickly. Beth England's a United supporter, so like you said with the Euros, if Emma goes to her, you're going to find your chances even more limited this year because she didn't always play last season. She might be thinking, well, I need to get in for the
games. Absolutely. Yeah. Spot on. Right, so Anthony, it's been a pleasure. I'll file out the missing report for Benny. I've still not heard of him. Not a clue. Like I say, he's done in England and he's done a complete no-show, but never mind. Still a great show. Thanks to everyone as well for tuning in. More brilliant comments as well, so thank you for that as well. John Foster's back on Thursday, 7 p.m. with Natalie for his show. Friday, Fans Forum. If anybody wants to come on the Fans Forum, by the way, on a Friday, if you DM the All for United WFC Twitter account, and we'd more than be happy to have you on. You know, it's good to see different people on Fans Forum. That's what it's all about. You know, you come on, you bring yourself 10-minute slot, bring your own topic, and get to chat all things football. Doesn't have to be Man United. You know, we take fans of any club on there, come and chat football with us. Like I say, individual slots, so everybody gets the say. And Saturday, me and Ben are back, assuming he's not done his disappearing act again. So yeah, but,
the match show.
That's it. It'll just be the match show, and we'll just have to substitute Ben and go with that. But yeah, all jokes aside, I'm sure he's fine. He's probably, I don't know, asleep or something because he does work shifts. Yes, that's it from us. Thank you very much, guys, and we will catch you on Thursday's show at 7 p.m. Cheers, Anthony.
No worries. Thank you. Take care, guys.